Meanwhile, retail giant Amazon says it's questioning its future in Seattle. I don't blame it, because the city council passed a new tax, $275 per worker for the largest employers in the city. Now, this revenue is all set to help the city's homeless problem. The news comes as Amazon announces plans to open 2 more cashier-less stores in Chicago and San Francisco. Joining me right now with a reaction to all of it, former CKE restaurant CEO, the author of the brand new book, Capitalist Comeback, Andy Putzler. Andy, I'm just going to let you go, because I know you will have a lot to say about this issue. $275 a head. They're going to charge everyone in Seattle. That tax then goes to deal with the homeless problem. Your reaction, sir?
Well, I think they're forgetting that these free market capitalist companies that have made an incredible fortunes in the American free enterprise system are in Washington. For one of the reasons is they're in Washington is that Washington has no state income tax, and you can't have a county or a city tax. Now they're trying to put as a way to try and generate revenue for their socialist progressive policies. Because they spend very inefficiently. They're now putting this tax on a company like Amazon with 45,000 employees. If you put $275 tax on every employee, that's about $12.4 million from your bottom line. So if you move to a state like Nashville, Tennessee, we love businesses here, you'd save yourself $12.4 million to your bottom line just by moving out of the state.
It's real money. And then, you know, what does the $12 million for the homeless situation get you anyway in Seattle? It's once again another wealth transfer that I think would probably raise a whole lot of eyebrows. But, you know, this is a city, Seattle, that has a history of this, Andy. I mean, whether you're talking about minimum wage, whether you're slapping a big tax on businesses, what is it that they have against an economy that functions? Actual businesses and capital enterprise?
Well, they actually have some out-and-out socialists on their city council. One is a socialist economic professor, and for some reason they believe these policies that have failed across the planet, as I discuss in the book, have failed everywhere they've been tried, might somehow work in Seattle. You know, it's interesting. When the minimum wage went to $15 an hour, you didn't hear Amazon saying anything about the government taking too much money in or being anti-business, because they don't have any minimum wage employees. Now that their ox that's being gored, they're being charged as $275 per employee. They're out there complaining that the city spends money inefficiently. Well, of course it spends money inefficiently. It's a government. Governments spend money inefficiently. This is not the way to solve the homeless problem, by putting money in the hands, more money in the hands of people that are already spending it poorly. So what we need, there are legitimate programs that can help the homeless, and maybe Seattle should ask why it has so many homeless people in the first place. But once you accept the fact that you've got those homeless people, you need real policies. You don't need just to be pouring more money into government that you take from businesses that are employing the people who live in your city. It's absurd.
But you know, this is, I guess it's nice to think like that, right? In some kind of utopia-like world, none of us have any self-interest. None of us care. We're happy to go to work and give it all to Uncle Sam so that he, the government that is, can redistribute it to everyone else. But, you know, those of us that are working, you're not going to feel that way. I mean, fundamentally, I really don't think anybody feels that way. And that's perhaps what some of those city council members are missing out.
It's hard to be that naive. I mean, you have to really be naive to think that any of this is going to produce economic prosperity. In fact, if you look at the policies that the progressives, the Democrats, the socialists, which has now become almost the same term, but if you look at the policies they're advancing, they're not to generate economic growth. They don't try and generate that rising economic tide that John Kennedy talked about that lifts everybody, that lifts all boats. They go after votes. They want to give people things that will cause people to vote for them, like Obamacare, or like increasing taxes on the wealthy, or on these businesses in this case, to bring money into the city so that they can get people they give the money to vote. These aren't economic plans. These are political plans. These are plans to generate votes, not to generate economic growth. We know what generates economic growth, free market capitalism.
Free market capitalism doesn't need to be political. As you rightly point out, JFK cut taxes. Andy, it is a pleasure to see you. Outstanding book. I encourage everyone to read it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.